Nick Angstadt here, joined by Kevin Gray. Kevin Gray Sports. We're going to break down Dallas Mavericks Game 1 win over the Clippers. Lots of stuff to get into. We'll talk about it all right here on Locked On Mavs.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks Podcast.
Hey, Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and coordinator for the Locked On Podcast Network. And joining me, second time on the show, first time with me, Kevin Gray at Kevin Gray Sports. Kevin, what you got for me?
What's up, man? How are you? I'm glad to be on the program. You and Isaac out here killing the game with Locked On Mavericks. I feel like I've arrived. Look, I work at 105.3 The Fan, of course, home of the Cowboys and Rangers. But being on Locked On Mavericks, like, well, wait a minute, Nick gave me an invite. I must have arrived. So I'm happy to be here with you this evening, man. Good to be here.
Oh man, I spent many a year on the other side of that phrase that I felt like somebody invited me on. So hey, happy to give people opportunities, if that's even what this is. I guess it is at this point, right? Like, man, that's such a weird thing to think about. But on today's show, we are going to, like I said, break down more of Game 1, get into the nitty gritty of it. I want to get into the coverages that were given to Luka defensively from the Clippers. I want to talk about Porzingis' offense, when he got his touches and where. Carlisle gave a really interesting quote during after practice today that I want to get into. And then there are 4 big moments from Game 1 that I want to get into, because I think those were 4 moments that are going to define this series for the Mavericks. And so we're getting into them, talk about them with Kevin. But before we do, Locked On NBA, go subscribe to it. And honestly, every single Locked On show right now is great on the NBA side. I can't speak for all the other ones. Haven't listened to all the other ones. The NFL, college, I'm not responsible for those. I am responsible for all the NBA ones. So you can go listen to any single one of them. They'll hold up. And after all these incredible playoff games this weekend, especially probably Locked On Grizzlies for sure, you'll want to listen to that one. Sean Coleman will be holding you down. And then David Locke from Locked On Jazz after that Memphis-Utah game. It may be a hate listen from Mavs fans to go listen and listen to David Locke, but it might be worth it. So go check that out, and go check out all the good stuff on Locked On NBA. All right, let's get into this. So I want to bring up the coverages on Luka, because it's the big question going around. How are the Clippers going to cover Luka? How are they going to defend him? And so what were your takes from Game 1 about how the Clippers decided to cover Luka? Because there's a lot of different versions and different things that they gave him.
What got me, and I don't know if it got you the same, but I'm not sure how the Clippers looked at the film from last year's playoff series and said, hey, let's try Patrick Beverley out on Luka Doncic to start the game off with. Let's see how that goes off and works out again in the series. And of course, Luka Doncic starts to cook him early in the first quarter. He had 12 points, got him into early foul trouble. And you could just tell right away that it was a point for Luka Doncic that they were going to put Patrick Beverley on him to punish him early and often. And that's exactly what they did. So I wasn't sure why Ty Lue looked at things and said, hey, let's try to get, Beverley. I know he's a pest in terms of being, a defensive player and those kinds of things. But Luka's just too big and too strong for Beverley. So I thought that was interesting that they decided early on to start off with Beverley on Doncic once again. And obviously it didn't work again either.
It felt like they were going to start Beverley on him, just like, okay, we'll put the pest guy on him just for those initial 10 seconds of the shot clock or 5 seconds of the shot clock, just so that he gets in, gives him some ball pressure, swipes at the ball, because they knew that the Mavericks were going to run a bunch of pick and rolls. They're going to run a bunch of screens, and then the Clippers were going to switch anyway, because they switched a ton in this game. Went back and watched it again today, and they switched a whole bunch in this game. And so they were expecting, all right, they'll switch, and it'll be one of our other guys that'll come, and then Beverley will come over and help, or we'll have all the other 3 wings like Paul George, Kawhi, and Morris that are all going to help. The thing is, Luka destroyed Zubac. He just played him off the floor. Scored the matchup data from NBA.com said Luka scored 16 of his 31 points against Zubac. That is nuts that he scored that many points just on one player that wasn't even initially guarding him. So I thought that was really interesting. The thing that really, the reason why I brought this up again today, Ty Lue had a comment at Clippers practice on Monday, or on Sunday. And he was asked by Tim McMahon why Kawhi Leonard doesn't get the defensive assignment against Luka more often. Ty Lue said, "I think you're going to get what you're asking for come Tuesday." All right, and then Tim McMahon followed that up by saying the Clippers' concern is that Kawhi Leonard exhausts so much energy on the offensive end that giving him the toughest defensive assignment risks him running out of gas, but they don't have another answer for Luka. My thing is, that's not the answer for Luka, because they did that a lot in this game. Kawhi guarded Luka a decent amount in this game. They just screened him off of him every single time. I think I went back and tracked like almost every time Luka had the ball and was initiating offense. And Kawhi, the first like in the middle 5 minutes, like a full 5 minutes in the first quarter, Kawhi was guarding Luka, and they just switched every single time. They pick and roll with either Maxi or whoever Zubats was guarding, and then Luka was switched on to Zubats. Like they did the Kawhi thing. Like what else is he supposed to do? Like what else is Kawhi supposed to do? I guess they can put Kawhi on Luka every possession, but they're just gonna pick him off of him every single time. There's not enough time for him to recover and to get back to Luka, to me.
And that's gonna have to be the adjustment that the Clippers make. One is to not switch everything. I know in today's NBA, you switch everything, it seems like. But when you've got your best defender getting switched out and getting your center on to Doncic, that's a matchup that the Mavericks are going to exploit every single time that happens. So I'm interested to see how Ty Lue defensively adjusts to maybe doing a little bit less switching with Kawhi Leonard, especially if you're going to make him more of a primary defender on Luka, throughout the game in game two, because you can't simply just continue to switch everything and think that the Mavericks won't take advantage of that, whether it be Doncic in the pick and roll or being able to, take guys off the dribble, whomever gets switched out onto him. So I think you'll see Kawhi Leonard try to fight a little more through screens and try to remain on Luka instead of getting picked off and just getting switched off every time, because that can't happen if you're the Clippers. You're trying to stay in this series.
And the thing that changes this for the Mavs and specifically for Luka is that mid-range shot. He just woke up. Like, Luka, man, like this past summer.
Because now he's a three-level scorer to where he will punish you, whether he'll take it to the basket, he'll hit you in the mid-range, and now his ability to shoot the ball from the three-point line with more consistency. Like he's going to punish you wherever you go to on the floor nowadays.
He just woke up this year and was like, I'm just going to shoot mid-range shots this year. I know I didn't do it the first 2 years, but I'm just going to do it this year and see what happens. And he hits them at a really good rate. And so people ask, well, why can't Kawhi? This is a question I got in locker room today. Why can't the Clippers just guard Luka straight up? Why do they have to throw all these different things with trapping and switching and all these and stunting and all this different stuff? Why do they have to throw all that at him? Why can't they just guard him straight up? The answer is if you set a good screen on Kawhi, the initial defender, like the primary defender on Luka or whoever's primarily defending Luka, there is not enough time for that player to get around that screen to get to Luka. By the time he gets there, Luka will have put a shot up or pass to the roller or wherever he's going to send it to a 3-point shooter where the defender sagged off and didn't stay home. Like there's just not enough time for that person to recover. And that's the thing about Kawhi is, sure, guard him straight up, don't switch. Then he's just going to have to recover on all these screens, chase around Luka all this time, and then he's going to expel all that energy, and then it just won't matter. And he won't matter as much on the offensive end.
Because one of the things I think Kawhi Leonard can exploit with Doncic, he's not afraid to take on bigger guys. You saw a couple years ago when he was with Toronto, and what he did against Giannis in the playoffs. Yeah. Strength for strength, he can handle guys of that size. It's just that when you've got the vision, the creativity, and Luka Doncic's ability to use his strength the way that he does, it makes it difficult for guys to recover because I'll call it deceptively quick, if you will. He can get to the basket once he puts you on his hip. So once he gets by you, it's pretty much over anyway.
At least you didn't say sneaky athletic. At least you didn't go.
I didn't go for that one. No,
you
no.
didn't go deceptively
quick. Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, so I'm just interested to see what they're gonna do in game two. There's so many switches. They tried everybody on him, like Kawhi like Pat Beverly started the game on him, initially guarding him. Kawhi in the middle of the first quarter. The end of the first quarter, it was Paul George. The very end, it was Batum. And then second quarter, Patrick Beverly started on him. The end of the second quarter, it was Morris. And then Rondo started picking him up full court at the end of the second quarter.
That's
with
right,
Morris. Third quarter, Patrick Beverley started on him again, and then they just kept switching on Zubac, and then eventually Zubac got played off the floor in that quarter. Patrick Beverley's still on him. Kawhi was on him in the middle of the third quarter, then Batum at the end of the third quarter. There was one possession. I went back and tracked every single one of them. There was one possession where Reggie Jackson was the initial defender on Luka.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a switch or anything. And as soon as Luka saw Reggie Jackson, he just pulled up from three. Just immediately pulled up on him. And just hit a
flashbacks.
And hit a three right on him. Yeah, he just was sitting there, and Reggie Jackson saw that. And then at the end, it was Batum and Rondo were picking up Luka full court. Batum guarded him basically the rest of the game, and Rondo would pick him up like at half court or full court or 3/4 court to try and, trap. And then Jalen Brunson was kind of the key to that, to sort of breaking those traps. So I found that all really interesting. See what they're going to do. Kawhi, I guess, is going to guard him more. I guess all those names that I just listed, it's just going to be Kawhi's name in game 2, which I think I'm okay with.
Well, at some point, you've got to use the best bullets that you got in your gun. And I think for Ty Lue, looking at what Luka Doncic did to them in the first game, you can't not go into game 2 swinging for the fence. And if your best defender happens to be your best offensive player, then you're going to have to do what you have to do to see what he can do against Luka Doncic. So I'm not surprised that Ty Lue came out and said, kind of definitively, well, hey, you want more Kawhi on Luka Doncic? Well, that's exactly what you're going to get. So I'm interested to see how Carlisle adjusts, knowing that Kawhi Leonard's going to be a little bit more of a defensive presence, especially on Luka in game 2. That should be a fun matchup to watch.
That'll be fascinating. Coming up, let's get into Porzingis and his offense. Porzingis was a big point of contention after a win, even. He's so polarizing that even after a win, he gets hate. But we'll get into him. We'll talk about his offense, his touches. Carlisle had a really interesting comment about him, so we'll talk about that with Kevin Gray coming up. But before we do, Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app. Wouldn't it be great if there was a pocket-sized guide that helped you sleep, focus, act, be better, all those things? Wouldn't you want to be all those things? If you have 10 minutes, Headspace can change your life. Whatever the situation, Headspace can really help. If you need help falling asleep, Headspace has wind down sessions their members swear by. For me, right now, my wind down is like listening to an episode of The Office or of something. I need to change it up, so we got to use Headspace. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/LockedOnNBA. Again, headspace.com/LockedOnNBA. You'll get a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. This is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/LockedOnNBA today. Also, I want to tell you about Built Bar. BuiltBar.com. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They're absolutely delicious. They're not sold in stores. You have to get them on the website. Isaac and I rave about these. Pretty much everybody on the Locked On Podcast Network raves about them. They have 9 delicious flavors right now. The best ones for me, the ones that I reordered just recently: mint brownie, raspberry, the cherry barcia. Those are my favorite ones. A lot of people love the peanut butter brownie, double chocolate. Those are great too. The coconut, and of course, if they have the coconut brownie chunk, go and do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not consult your bank account. Immediately buy those bars because they're going to sell out immediately. Go to BuiltBar.com, use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your next order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All right, Kevin, let's get into some more stuff about the Mavs. Game 1, breaking it down. Mavs won, by the way. Took away home court advantage. Loved it.
Love it.
I was watching your post-game video on Kevin Gray Sports on YouTube, and you said that the Clippers folded like a cheap tent, and I love that line. I thought that was great. I thought that was a great line.
Yeah.
Man, they really did. And the thing is, Porzingis didn't really play that big of a factor. And we've talked all year about how he wants his shots in a certain space. He's been particular about his shots. And it's because someone else brought this up in locker room. I keep saying that, but they did. It's not because Isaac and I or Mavs Media or Kevin or whoever just wants to keep bringing this up and belaboring the point. Porzingis is the one that brings this up. He's the one that talks about it. Even after this game, Kevin, to us in the media, after the media, were you surprised that the first thing that he said afterwards was, well, I didn't get my shots, and if I'm not involved in the offense, then, I have to find other ways and blah, blah, blah. Were you surprised by his answer that way? Because he eventually was like, it was a good team win. But the first thing he thought of was where his shots are coming from.
Yeah, because Carlisle had mentioned prior to Porzingis getting on that he had to be patient, in the offense and had to wait for his things to kind of come to him as the game went on. And the first question that was brought up to him was about that very patience in game one and being able to stay with it, even though he wasn't involved necessarily in the offense. And so I think he just answered the question based on what was asked of him. And look, I think that's a point of contention for a lot of folks who watch this team. And it feels like there's a lot of things that are forced fed when it comes to try and get Porzingis involved in this offense. And at times it doesn't feel like he's a natural part and flow of this offense for the Mavericks. So I understand the frustration definitely, because we know how much he prefers playing the five versus playing the four in this particular offense. So when he's not getting the shots or feeling like he's getting involved based on the position that he's playing, for the most part, he has voiced those quote unquote concerns, if you will, to let us know, hey, this is what I prefer. And if someone's listening, this is exactly what I want to see happen. But hey, it was a great team win. Great team win. I want to get more involved in the offense, but hey, it was a great team win. Exactly.
I think he's right in the sense that he does need to get more involved. The other thing is he needs to be involved in the right spots. I went back and
Sure.
I watched again today, and I marked every time he had the ball and was like about to initiate offense, like not swing passes or things like that, but was about to initiate offense. And they started the game with a play run for KP. Right, like it was the Tim Hardaway Jr. comes and sets a down screen for him. He curls around that and then comes up and hits a jumper, which I thought was great. It was basically like a Klay Thompson like mid-range jumper type play that they ran for him. And then he hit a three at the beginning of the first quarter too. And then what happened at 8 minutes and 35 seconds in the first quarter? KP got the ball on the left wing, and he tries to dribble with Kawhi guarding him. And Kawhi's guarding him, but the times that he's not guarding Luka. Apparently, he's gonna guard Luka all the time now. But and then Kawhi just like took his lunch money, and then KP had to foul him to stop the fast break, which apparently is something that every Maverick wants to do, because
including Luka.
We'll talk about Luka in a minute, but Luka, KP, and Maxi all made comments about stopping fast breaks with a foul. Apparently, that has to be a Mavs mandated type thing, but. So KP had to foul right there because Kawhi got the steal, and then he didn't touch the ball the whole rest of the first quarter. Like the whole rest of the first quarter, he didn't touch the ball after that. Second quarter, this might take me a little bit to get through some of these, but I have a point. Stay with me, everyone listening. Second quarter, he pulls up for a 2-point shot with Paul George guarding him. He missed that one. It was a decent shot. It was a pretty difficult shot, but it was a decent look. A couple minutes later, he drives on Ibaka, doesn't get a call. He misses the shot. It was like a bang bang kind of play at the rim, and no foul was called. Kind of got in his head. He was complaining about a call. A minute after that, he posts up on Batum about 15 feet away from the basket, exactly where we've been saying all year he can't get the ball in that 15 to 20 foot range. He can't face up from there unless it's against a big, or post up from there. It just doesn't work. He needs to be closer to the basket, get better position. He misses there. Batum knocks the ball out away from him. Luka comes back in with about 6 minutes and 50 seconds left in the second quarter. KP barely touches the ball the rest of the quarter. Third quarter, this is where it's really important, and this is what really messed him up. Beginning of the third quarter, KP tries to drive on Kawhi again. He takes a bad shot. He misses. There was sort of a foul. It was close. I couldn't tell unless you really slowed it down and did the whole replay thing if it was really a foul, and that's the same for a lot of these. But KP thought he got fouled, didn't get fouled. 30 seconds later, he posts up on Marcus Morris. The ball gets stripped. Again, no foul called. He thought it was. It was pretty close. And then with 8 minutes and 11 seconds left in the third quarter, KP posts up on Kawhi. He gets pulled down. That was the one where KP kind of got pulled down by Kawhi.
Right.
It wasn't a foul, and it was kind of close right there. And then he misses a three, and then 7 minutes left. He gets passed from the inbounds. He blocked. No foul. That was the one where Beverly kind of flies in from nowhere and then hits him. And there was no foul, and it was close. So 4 plays at the beginning of the third quarter where KP didn't get a foul that he thought he was supposed to get. And it just took him out of the rest of the game, basically, until the end of the fourth quarter. There's so many things we can get into it with all that. But what about not getting calls got into KP's head, and then not getting the ball in the right spots? Like, do the Mavericks have to figure out a way to get KP the ball in the right spots? And how did you see those fouls or non-call fouls basically in the third quarter affect him?
Yeah, because I think for Porzingis, I think he has to play better through contact and not allow non-foul calls to get him out of rhythm whether it be mentally or physically what he's trying to do in terms of post position or trying to get to the basket and getting to the spots where he needs to. Because I think sometimes he can get mentally taken out of games because either he's not getting foul calls or he's not finishing through contact the way that he needs to, especially
when getting the ball.
Exactly, or not getting the ball at all. And that allows him he'll take himself out of games, because I don't think necessarily offensively, that they're trying to do things to scheme him out of offensive plays, especially when knowing how important he is to the offense. At times, he'll take himself out of offensive plays. So for him, I think going forward, he's got to mentally stay connected to whether he's not getting touches or if he is getting touches, what can he do within the offense to make things easier for himself and his teammates? Because he's talked about it at times, at points of this season also, doing things that he can to help his teammates get involved in the offense also. So if he can stay with that kind of mindset, play better through contact, and then not try to take chances by trying to take guys like Kawhi Leonard off the dribble, which is never a good idea, knowing how we talked about how, Kawhi has played guys like Giannis in the past. Like physically, he can match up with pretty much anybody. So Porzingis has to do a better job of some matchup recognition, given some of the things that they can do in this offense with him, and not mentally take himself out of games when he's not getting foul calls or those kinds of things. Because if he can find other ways to help the Mavericks in this offense.
Yeah, I just found that really interesting, because then at the beginning, then he does get fouled when he faces up against Marcus Morris, and he goes to the line after that. But in the fourth quarter, he was about to take a three and he hesitated. And that's where you saw it really get into his head at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then the ball comes back to him after that hesitation, and he takes a three with Kawhi contesting it, and he totally missed the rim. Like, he just missed the whole rim.
That's right.
And so it was like, I saw that progression. You watched it, like he said, he takes himself out of games in that way. And so, yeah, it's about where he gets the ball. And so he's right in some of these senses, right? Like, it matters where he gets the ball, how he gets his touches, and he has to have those to be able to play his game, because he's not one of these guards. He's not even Giannis, right? Where he can get the ball top of the key and just do something.
Yeah.
He's not that kind of guy.
Yeah. And he's a good screener. He's a good roller at times. You've seen him being able to make plays and cuts to the basket, because Carlisle has talked about it a lot this season, when he goes out of his way to praise him a little bit, that he can roll to the basket and do some different things creatively within the offense when he's not having the ball particularly in his hands, when it's not in the spot that he necessarily wants it in. He's got to take more advantage of some of those recognitions and those matchups where he can be better moving off the ball, if you will, even at his size, to be able to create some easy opportunities for him at the rim to get some of those foul calls, to try to get to the line and get some rhythm in his jump shot, as the game goes on.
They need him. I think they need him in this series.
I agree.
20, 25 points a game at least. Like, give me a 38-point game again like he had last year. That would be absolutely nuts. So, all right, we will talk a little bit more about KP, and then we'll get into the 4 big moments of that game 1 that I think really matter for the rest of the series. But before we do, let's talk about Indeed. If you're the hiring expert for your company, what you really need is something to help make your life easier and to give you a short list of quality candidates. You have so many in front of you, hundreds possibly. We just recently hired somebody for the Locked On Podcast Network and had like over 100 applicants. You're like, how do I even possibly narrow this down? Well, Indeed can help you do that. It's the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3, post, screen, and interview all on Indeed. You get a quality short list of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster, and you only pay for the candidates that meet your must-have qualifications. You can also have skills tests that you can put in your requirements and all that kind of stuff. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers four times more hires than all other job sites combined. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/locked. Get a $75 job credit at Indeed.com/locked. Indeed.com/locked. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Kevin, let's get into some more moments from the game. But first, I want to end on this Porzingis topic, because he did have some moments at the end of the game. It wasn't all trash and he took himself out of the game and he was out of it, because there was a couple moments at the end of the game where he came back and redeemed himself, I don't know if is the best word, but he contributed, right? And he did some really good things at the end. With about 5 minutes and 20 seconds, Luka and KP ran like their first pick and roll of the whole game, right? Like, they did not screen and roll at all, because the Mavericks valued this switch with Zubac. And so it was Maxi that Zubac was guarding most of the time. And so they had Maxi come and set the screen. And so Luka and KP ran a pick and roll when the Clippers are going really small, and KP got a dunk. It was his first made shot in 9 attempts.
Yeah.
At that point in the game. And then he hit those 2 free throws that were really big, and then he hit that dunk on Kawhi that we'll talk about in a minute. What did you see from KP at the end of the game, and what was different than at the beginning or the third quarter that you saw?
I think some of his movement was better as the game went on because, again, when he's not getting the ball in certain positions, he'll take himself out of plays and out of certain situations. But when he's getting involved in the offense and screening and cutting and moving without the ball, he can find himself getting to the rim and making some plays. And then when you start getting the screen and roll game with Luka Doncic going a little bit, that's when he becomes lethal, especially when he's out picking and popping and be able to hit the shot from the outside. But I think for him, the key is going to be mentally staying involved and getting some movement going so that he can get some easy looks at the rim. And at times he's a decent passer. So it's not like if he doesn't, cut to the basket and find an easy shot for himself, at times he can make a nice little pass for someone, maybe out for an open shot and create some easy offense for his teammates. So he's got to affect the game different ways offensively, just besides looking for his own shot and staying, quote unquote, involved in the offense when he can be involved in the offense in a multitude of ways without having, shooting the basketball. So.
Yeah, hopefully we get more of that Luka, or hopefully we get more of that KP. And that dunk from the corner was awesome, right? Like he hates standing in the corner, right? You can just tell his body language doesn't really seem ready, and he's not really the guy. Like Dorian's totally fine standing in the corner on offense, but KP is not. But good things usually come out of that. He usually gets that dunk every once in a while. Luka will find him on that cut. And then he can get spot up threes there too if he wanted, but he just doesn't want to. He just doesn't want to play there. The Mavs don't play him there often until it's like the fourth quarter. Until the fourth quarter is when they start putting him in that corner. All right, I want to move on. We could keep talking about this forever, but I want to move on to the 4 big moments in the game. The first one, and there's so many big moments. It's a playoff game. Everything matters, right? Like seems like every possession matters in these games.
Live and die on every possession. It seems like it's playoffs for sure. Yeah.
Seriously. And according to Richard Jefferson, you want to treat your first foul like it's your 6th foul or your 5th foul and live and die on every single foul that you give. I don't know if you watched the national broadcast on that game, but Richard Jefferson was doing his thing. Luka got his 3rd foul. 2 of them with 6 minutes and 5 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. Luka got his 3rd foul. 2 of them were on these take fouls or the fast break stopper fouls that we mentioned earlier in the show. I think they were both on Kawhi. But Luka, you basically foul the guy to stop the fast break so they don't get the easy 2 points, and it just stops the play. They take the ball out on the side, and they just run it in. On the 3rd foul that Luka took, Carlisle subbed him out. It was a little bit out of his normal subbing rotation, and you could visibly see Luka angry. Like literally his hands, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see his hands like just so mad. What did you think about that decision from Carlisle? Because it was obviously out of normal rotation. He did it because of the foul, because it came literally right after that. And Luka was visibly frustrated by it. What did you think about that whole sequence and decision from Carlisle?
I thought Carlisle panicked a little bit, honestly, because you're right. Luka came off the floor. You could tell he went over to the stanchion and just like, I just can't believe, it took me out in that particular moment. I thought he panicked a little bit because in that moment, you got to trust your superstar to not pick up that 4th foul. And the kind of fouls that he was taking, you mentioned on the fast breaks, trying to stop those are fouls that it appears that this team wants these players to take in order to stop, plays in transition. So you've got to be able to trust your player in that particular. You trust him in most other situations. You got to allow a little bit of latitude for him to make sure that he is smart enough to know he's not going to pick up his 4th foul and take himself out of a ball game. Because I think he knows at this point how important he is, given where the momentum was at that particular point in the game and how crucial it was for him to remain, in the lineup. So I think Carlisle panicked just a little bit there and not allowed his superstar to, take the reins and be smart enough not to pick up that 4th foul there.
Interesting. I think I took a different approach. I think he was doing it to kind of punish Luka. Like, take him out because he did that. Because I think Luka gets different rules than everybody else. Like we mentioned, Luka does the take fouls. KP mentioned it. Maxi mentioned it, and you'll hear him in a video in a little bit. And so I think he took him out to sort of give him a statement. Like, you can't take those fouls. Everyone else can take those fouls. Everyone else is expendable, but you cannot do that, because all of a sudden Kawhi comes and he starts attacking you a bunch of times, and you get two BS fouls, right? And all of a sudden you have 5 fouls, and we just can't. Like, we have to take you out of the game. So I think it was sort of to send a message to Luka, and it seemed to work. And what did he finish the game with? He finished the game with 4, I think. But yeah, I think I think he was trying to send a message. We'll see. That's something to watch. And it seemed like Luka handled it decently well. He was frustrated in the moment because he had to be taken out of the game. But I think anytime the ball gets taken from Luka or the game itself gets taken away from Luka, he probably gets that mad too, right? Like,
Yeah.
like when the season was suspended, I bet he did the same thing. Like, oh, come on, really?
Well, it's funny because he only finished with those 3 fouls. I just looked at the box score
he
again.
did fourth, yeah.
Yeah, he only finished with those 3 fouls. So whether he punished him or whatever the case, it worked because he didn't pick up a foul for the rest of the game. So
the other moment I think that matters. So the number 1 was Luka and the take fouls. Number 2 was the dunk heard round the world.
Oh man.
R.I.P. to Maxi Kleber. The funeral will be held at the end of the series. 3 minutes and 56 seconds left. And Kawhi Leonard gets a fast break and just dunks the mess out of Maxi Kleber. Like, just completely, like, perfect dunk on him. Perfect poster dunk. And everyone's seen the video. We've seen the pictures by now. They're insane to see how to see how he dunked on him. The one thing I will mention, Kawhi always gets away with that off-ball hand, right? And Luka does it too, right? Like I'll say Luka does it too, but Kawhi always with that off-ball hand, like LeBron style. And he pushed Maxi with that hand on this dunk. And then go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm going to tell you real quick about the mentality of a Clipper fan, because I saw on Twitter today, somebody was like, oh man, the Clippers may have lost the game, but that was the coldest thing I've ever seen, on a basketball court. I quote tweeted the guy. I said, that's how you know the Clippers ain't never won anything. Because to think that was the best moment in that game and you still lost and that was the coolest thing you've ever seen, that's how I know you haven't won anything in your life. Because that should have been a momentum-changing play for the Clippers, but yet the Mavericks were able to, come back on a nice little run of their own, and we're able to win the basketball game. So that just tells you a lot you need to know about Clippers fans and how they get down with their business these days.
Should we go on a rant about the younger generation? This is what the highlight generation is all about. Nobody appreciates a crisp bounce pass anymore, right? Like, they all want these dunks, and nobody cares about
a nice chest pass to the pocket. Nobody appreciates good basketball anymore. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. But I think that this dunk matters because of the way Maxi handled it and the way the Clippers handled it. There's this crazy, maybe I'll be able to find it, but there's this crazy photo going around of Kawhi and Paul George, and it was there was like a really good there's a really good version of it. I can't find it right now, but I'm finding the
was it the three of them standing and looking at Maxi?
Yeah, there's this one. Yeah. There's this one that was like the screenshot, but then there's like there's a really high quality one from the Clippers, I think. But these 3 guys yelling at Maxi, like Maxi Kleber, like a rotation player for the Mavericks. That these 3 guys, 2 of them didn't do anything on the play, like nothing. You guys were not involved in this at all, and screaming at him. By the way, they're still down 2. It's not like they're up 15 or they're winning the game or like they're dominating or anything like that. The game was still out of hand. 3 minutes 56 seconds. They're up 2. By the way, I looked in how Maxi decided to handle this. He was asked about it afterwards. And so here is Maxi Kleber. This is how he decided to handle this shot, and how he decided basically, like, I'm not making a business decision. I'm taking this, and I'm basically taking it on the chest or taking it on the chin, basically. This is what Maxi Kleber had to say.
First of all, I had 3 fouls already, so I couldn't take an early take foul to stop the fast break. But, this is the playoffs, so I'm going to try to contest the shot. I don't care about that. You don't try to give up easy baskets. I think the stare down should have been a technical foul in my opinion, but that's not my decision. But I didn't really care. I get up and try to keep playing, and we kept playing. And, stuff like that happens. Obviously it was an amazing dunk, because I honestly didn't expect him to jump up and dunk, but it's not going to hold me back, because at the end of the day, every possession counts, and I couldn't foul, and, I would do it every time again.
I love that he said, I would do it every time again, right? And the decision to do it. What did you take from Maxi's comments there?
2 things. One, that's Maxi. Maxi is not afraid to stay in there and try and make a play. And sometimes you're going to get posterized, man. That's just the nature of this league. And I think he understands that. But more so than anything, he knows that his value defensively is what it needs to be for this team. And if it means taking, a poster every now and then, that's what needs to happen. But the fact that he was willing to say, I thought that should have been a technical foul based on what happened, I mean, okay, from the letter of the law, maybe.
And it's happened in the NBA. Like this is what I was going to bring. This is one of the things I was going to bring up. Is it's happened. I think it happened to Giannis this year, where he just stares somebody down and gets a technical. Like yes, like you said, letter of the law. It probably should have been. And for 3 guys to do it, not just one dude, and to scream at him, like to step up and scream at him while he's on the ground. Yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. Mavs won the game. All that stuff. I'm not getting like bent out of shape because it wasn't a technical, but letter of the law, it probably should have been.
Yeah, and I think that's more what he was speaking to with respect to the, the quote unquote the taunting that the 3 of them did once, because low key, I don't think even Kawhi wanted to even scream at him. I think he saw his other 2 boys, looking down and screaming at him. I was like, oh, I guess I got to scream too, because that's not really Kawhi's, thing. He's not a, a screamer.
That's not his volume.
Yeah, not at all, not at all. So I agree with Maxi on both fronts. Letter of the law probably should have been a technical, but at the same time, no harm, no foul. It's in the passion, in the heat of the game. It just looks clownish when those 3 do it, given what they haven't accomplished, as far as being together with the Clippers, I should say, with those 3.
Right. Yeah. If you look, Kawhi is walking away. Like he's the one that's kind of walking away. The other 2 are stepping
exactly.
Up, right?
Exactly.
I think that matters. But okay, this is why I bring this up, and I think this moment matters because Follow on the broadcast said this could be a momentum-defining play for this game. And I was like, you know what? He's right about that. It could have been in real time. But looking back, the Mavericks finished that quarter 11-7. Clippers didn't go on this crazy run. The Mavericks actually outscored them at the end of that third quarter. And to finish the game, the Mavericks outscored them 38-30. So it's not like they went on this big run and did anything. The Mavericks were able to outscore them through the rest of the quarter and then the rest of the game. So they took that momentum and did nothing with it. They took these screams and didn't do anything with it. And then we talked about Porzingis with that dunk from the corner that we talked about earlier. The dunk was over Kawhi. Now, Kawhi made a business decision, moved out of the way, and did not take it on the chest, did not try to go for the blocks. KP 7-3, little different, right? Like a little different scenario there. But the fact that Maxi decided to take it and Kawhi didn't, I feel like says something, especially since it was a close game. When KP got that dunk, it was 107-102, and KP made it 109-102. So it was then a 7-point game. So it was kind of a little out of reach because there was about a minute left at that point. I found that interesting, the contrast between those two situations.
Yeah, I think both of those, and when you look at them, it just shows that they had no fear. Because you talked about the momentum play that could have changed the game. Kawhi goes down, gets the steal on Hardaway, takes it in transition, posterizes Kleber. In the playoffs, those could be momentum-changing plays. But to me, I think that spoke more to the poise of the Mavericks and not getting rattled and feeling like they were the better team coming into the series. And that confidence, I think, really was spelled out by the way that they responded after that, because a lot of teams could have looked at that situation and folded. They took it as say, hey, great play by Kawhi. We've got to go back down on the other end.
Bro.
And exactly. And just look, that's how sell a momentum changing play like that. By going down, continuing to play your game and not get rattled by what could have been, a real game changer as far as momentum was concerned. And then for Porzingis, I think he just needed that for himself psychologically. After what he had been through the game and not really getting the, the touches that he wanted in the certain spots that he gotten. You mentioned he missed 8 or 9 shots, straight at one point. He needed that to be able to get some confidence going into game 2, knowing how he was able to still contribute even though he didn't shoot the ball well. I think that was more of a confidence thing for him to be able to put one down on Kawhi and then continue to keep the momentum going for what was a 13-3 run, to end that game. Yeah,
I think you could put together a pretty good first take about this. Like if we decided to, let's just put together our best, Skip Bayless, Nick Wright take about this. Maxi Kleber had the guts, the balls to stand up to Kawhi Leonard and take it on the nose with this. Kawhi Leonard did not try on Kristaps Porzingis, and that is a poverty basketball mentality. Right? You could go into all these different things.
This is why the Clippers should not win this series, because Kawhi was able to posterize Maxi Kleber, but came on the other and allow Porzingis to dunk on that kind of thing.
The emphasis on the end of Porzingis is perfect.
Yeah.
Like that. 2 more moments I want to get into. We'll get to them pretty quick. We talked about this one a lot, I think. Brunson and the fourth quarter and ones. 8 minutes and 30 seconds, Brunson got an and one on the right side of the rim, and then with 8 minutes left, basically back-to-back possessions, he got and ones. Missed the free throw on the second one, but and one on the right side of the rim, left side of the rim. I thought those were so important. First of all, Brunson's playoff debut, huge plays, right? Like McMahon talks about the cojones factor. That was boom right there. The other thing, the Clippers were on a 9-1 run to start the fourth quarter before these two shots. And these two and ones gave them 5 points. they were able to kind of erase some of that and brought him back. What did you think about Brunson's debut and then these two shots specifically?
I thought Jalen Brunson, for his playoff debut, especially in those big moments early on in the fourth quarter, just really spoke to what Brunson has been to this team all season long, whether he's done some spot starting or primarily what he's done well this season is be a closer in the fourth quarter. Those 9 points that he had in the fourth quarter were just massive because the and ones that he had were kind of, all right, settle down plays.
Yeah, right.
The Clippers made their initial run at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Brunson, with his steady hand, is like, okay, we're going to calm things down, get a couple of and ones here. And then things just started to slowly develop as the rest of the quarter went on. So I thought it was typical Jalen Brunson with his calm demeanor, not letting the moment get too big for him in his first playoff game, and really did what he's been doing all season long for the most part, and that's closing in the fourth quarter. And he got that started with those couple of big baskets that he had.
Huge, absolutely huge for Jalen Brunson. The other moment, the fourth moment here, Tim Hardaway Jr. had a back-to-back possession sequence. 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Tim Hardaway took that charge from Paul George that the Clippers challenged that was unsuccessful. And then immediately after that, all the stoppage, like usually back-to-back possessions with this momentum kind of thing, it's the charge, and then boom, you take all that energy, that potential energy, turn it into kinetic energy on the offensive end and hit the three, right? Like boom, the crowd like reacts and all that. This one, Tim Hardaway Jr. took the charge. There was the stop, the challenge, all this stuff was unsuccessful. Challenges always take forever, all that. Tim Hardaway Jr. came on the other end and took a three, but the three was to retake the lead. The Clippers had the lead at that point, and the Mavericks retook the lead. What do you think about Tim Hardaway Jr. and that sequence specifically? Because I thought that was a huge sequence. Again, like the Brunson thing, for taking back momentum, like calm down, everybody. We can do this. We can take the lead back.
I think, again, that's a microcosm of what Tim Hardaway's been for this team all season long. This is a guy.
They're very similar, both these situations.
Exactly. He was tied for 8th in the NBA in terms of charges taken, and that's something that has been an MO of his all season long, being willing to step in and take charges, and then coming in and hitting big shots and big moments. This is a guy that we know how streaky Timmy can get, right? We know how streaky he can be as a shooter, but what you saw from him in this game was a steady progression of him staying within himself and allowing the game to come to him. And I think those two moments were perfect moments where he allowed the game to come to him offensively and defensively, because allowing that defensive momentum, taking the charge, and then coming back on the other end and hitting that, that three-pointer, those are the things that mature basketball players do in moments like this in terms of the playoff situations and not allowing the moment to overwhelm them. And Tim Hardaway just showed again in that moment the maturation process that he and his team have been going through this season. I think that sequence was a perfect microcosm of that.
Absolutely, for both of those guys, like you said, perfect example of what both those guys bring. So hopefully we'll get a couple more. We didn't even talk about Dorian Finney-Smith. You talked about him a lot in your post game. We talked about him a lot in our post game. He was massive, but I thought those two guys didn't get enough love from us specifically at the end, and so I wanted to bring those back up. Kevin Gray, follow him at Kevin Gray Sports. I'll put a link in the description of the podcast. You can also go subscribe to his YouTube channel. Anywhere else that they want to find you? 105.3, anywhere like that?
Yeah. You can catch me every single weekend on 105 through the Fan with my partner, Chris Arnold, a 2-time Hall of Famer. And man, that's right, man. Everybody loves Chris Arnold. Love working with him. And please, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. And definitely hit that subscribe button on Kevin Gray Sports on YouTube, man. So I really appreciate the invite. A lot of fun as always. What you and Isaac do on the Locked On Mavericks podcast is tremendous stuff, bringing coverage to all the MFFLs out there. And I'm just happy to be a small part of it this time around, man. So I appreciate the invite.
Heck yeah. I usually tell guests if you don't do a good job, I won't ask you back. But if you did, I'll probably ask you back. So if I don't
hopefully I made the cut.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you're getting an invite back. But there you go. We'll be back with more coverage. We'll hopefully have another guest tomorrow. Isaac is still gallivanting around somewhere. He decided to take a couple days off during the playoffs. I don't know what he's doing, but he'll be back for our post game. We'll have somebody else tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.